Hello everyone, today is 10th of October, now it's 5:30 in the afternoon Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is new episode of Headlines, short summary of the news that I will talk about in a bit more detail during the main news update of the day or final news update of the day on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And there are quite a number of news that I want to mention in this short video. Although, first of all, let me give you an update on situation on Kursk salient area because just about an hour ago, maybe a little more, information broke that Russian armed forces conducting offensive operations in direction of Zelený Shlях settlement and also Lyubimovka settlement. And I guess before tomorrow, Russian troops will manage to achieve significant progress in this direction. And also, simultaneously, we are receiving reports that Russian armed forces on the opposite side of the salient, on the eastern flank, establish full control over the settlement of Cherkas, Perechne, this quite a larger settlement. So we clearly observing next stage of the Russia's counter-terrorist operation in Kursk salient area, significant progress. I watched video today when Russian two BTRs, armored personnel carriers, basically chased a Ukrainian tank exactly in vicinity of Zelený Shlях settlement. The tank was trying to fire at the Russian BTRs. It missed her, I guess, and then just turn around and try to run away. But I guess it would not be too hard for Russian BTRs to basically shred that tank of Kiev regime during their pursuit. So maybe this settlement already is under Russian control, although of course more time is needed to receive additional information on that. That being said, let's go through some headlines now. And we have TASS News Agency's reporter on update from Russian Defense Ministry about casualties of Kiev regime forces in the Kursk salient area. And latest information is that since the beginning of the invasion in the Kursk direction, Kiev regime and their NATO mercenaries lost more than 21,550 military personnel and over 2,000 different type of military vehicles, tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, motor vehicles, artillery pieces, and so on. We have RIA Novosti's report also with the headline that according to pro-Russian underground, Russian armed forces conducted long-range precise strike on a drone production facility in the Nikolaev region, and also there were reports about Russian strikes in Odessa direction on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime. Also, RIA Novosti's report with the headline that Russian armed forces destroyed yet another two launchers of their Patriot air defense system. I wonder how many of these Patriots Kiev regime still has left, because they lost quite a lot of these systems, isn't it? Also, TASS News Agency's report that press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, dismissed their information that was circulating initially on South Korean media and then in Western some publications that North Korean troops are participating in a special military operation. Peskov said that this is nonsense, and this information, obviously cannot be even commented seriously. Why would North Korean troops participate in this military operation? Some citizens of North Korea, actually, if they are in Russia, actually can, I guess, apply for service in the Russian military. And if they are accepted by Russian armed forces, then they can serve, and eventually they might, they will have all the benefits that any other military personnel in Russian army. And because if they want to become a Russian citizen, of course, contract with the Russian army and service for Russia will definitely make it easier for them to become a Russian citizen. But when it comes to North Korean troops, actual troops, to fight in zone of special military operation, I mean, this is nonsense, by the way. Sometimes I really struggle to understand from where these fantasies are coming from in the Western media, or from or what is wrong with the politicians, for example, in South Korea or in the collective West in general, that they are generating these rumors like crazy, and this rumor particularly was generated in South Korea, by the way, by high-ranking officials of South Korea, who start speculating that most likely North Korean troops already not just participated, already die in zone of special military operation, man. And of course, Western media being extremely Russophobic, of course, they try to make some noise around this topic. So Peskov was asked about it, and he dismissed this information as nonsense. RIA Novosti is reporting that unfortunately, on border between administrative border between uh, Kalmykia and Volgograd, regions of the Russian Federation, um, training plane Yak-130 crashed. Pilot managed to eject, although during the ejection, pilot some damage, which is not surprise. As if pilots among members of our community will confirm that ejection from the plane is always causing some troubles with the health because of this high G's. TASS news agency is reporting that on 14th of October, NATO will begin its Steadfast Noon nuclear exercises. And you guess against which country these exercises will be directed? Against Russia, obviously. And then some so-called politicians in the West will speculate that, what, NATO is not a aggressive bloc, it's a defensive bloc, and this and that, and unbelievable, man. Anyways, let's continue. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin, with his decree, released Anatoly Antonov from position of the Russia's ambassador in US. So it's official. It's official. Now Russia no longer has ambassador in US, and who knows when a new ambassador will be appointed. TASS news agency is reporting that there was 105 missiles approximately that was launched from Lebanon towards Israel today. Also, Vzgliad newspapers report that Hezbollah claims that they managed to destroy Merkava tank of their IDF during the clashes. RIA Novosti report that Israeli forces opened fire on a UN peacekeepers territory, on UN peacekeepers basically in southern Lebanon. TASS news agency is reporting that German Chancellor Scholz stated that Germany will continue to supply Israel with their weapons. I guess this is Berlin's response on recent statements from France, from French President Macron, who basically called for a weapons embargo on Israel to be imposed. At least that's how his statements were received in media and in the world. TASS news agency is reporting that President of Russian Federation, with his decree, further simplified visa-free regime for citizens of Georgia, and now more Georgians will be able to travel to Russia. RT is reporting that, according to head of Gazprom, EU is committing energy suicide. This was stated by Alexei Miller, and who would argue with him? I mean, who would argue with him that EU actually is committing suicide by destroying relationships with Russia, Russian economy, Russian businesses? TASS news agency is reporting that head of UN, Gutierrez, is planning to visit a BRICS summit in Kazan, upcoming BRICS summit in Kazan, which is interesting. Okay, why not? This BRICS summit will be extremely representative. Obviously, some very serious decisions are expected to be announced during this summit about, and I hope about alternative financial and banking system, about further expansion of the BRICS, acceptation of the new members, and many other important topics. And okay, it is interesting that you head of UN will also participate most likely in this summit. And I will end this short video, dear friends, with this news that China imposed sanctions on a number of US companies and their citizens due to weapon supplies to Taiwan from the US. And this is it. As always, dear friends, more details about every single news that I just mentioned and more will be during the final news update of the day on my Patreon and the Boosty pages. So yes, hopefully you will find this short video interesting and useful. I will remind you that today I already had two and unfortunately YouTube is crashing those videos also. And well, if you are interested in more news, please check those videos. They are packed with interesting and relevant news. Hopefully you will find it interesting. And yes, this is it. If you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it, dear friends, with donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, where I have plenty of extra content, news updates, and some other stuff just about life in Russia. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.